Hey, welcome back to Cool Quotes. Today we're going to talk about the time Eartha Kitt blew up on the scene and two leading men from Hollywood fell in love with her at first sight and wanted to marry her. But she says no and things get out of control. In 1953, Eartha released the song Uskadara and it went to number 23 on the Billboard Hot 100. Then she releases Sessi Bon and it went to number 8. Then that winter she released Santa Baby and it went to number 4 and it went worldwide as a hit. She had a sexy video and that brought her into television and the movies. Before you knew it, all the leading men of the time wanted Eartha in their movie to sing and dance and be on their arm. So it was no shock when Sidney Poitier reached out and wanted her to co-star in the movie The Mark of the Hawk. Now this worked out great because not only was she popular at the time, but she could also speak French and her character had a lot of French speaking scenes, so it was a perfect fit. The only problem was Sidney Poitier became infatuated with her. At first she said it was just kind of playful joking around, then it turned into always sitting by her, talking, would start to brush up against her, then wanted to go out to dinners, after shoots and hang out, and it turned into sort of courting, she said. He was being a real gentleman about it. Now as this went on, she started to develop a little something with him. She said he was hot, so she was like, yeah, kind of digging it. But she knew he was married. So whenever he would get a little too frisky, put his arm around her and stuff, she would push it away and she refused his advances. Finally, he says, why can't we hang out and have sex and everything? And she's like, because you're married. And he said, well, I'm not happy in my marriage. And she says, well, then why don't you leave her? Why are you still there? And he said, because we have 4 children. I'm trapped. And she says, no one is ever trapped. She tells him, look, I'm falling for you too, but I'm not going to be the other woman and be the cause of your breakup of your marriage. But if you were to get a divorce, I would totally marry you. Which she says never happened until that point in her life. She never thought like, oh my God, I want to marry someone, or definitely told a man first, I want to marry you. So this was a big deal to her. But to him, it was like she said no, and he actually got upset. She said from that point on, he started to just shun her for the rest of the filming. He wouldn't talk to her, he wasn't around her. Actually, he would get irritated with her on set a few times. All of this never happened before until she told him no. Well, how did things work out for Sidney Poitier? Well, just 2 years later, he started a 9-year affair with Diane Carroll, and eventually his wife Juanita Hardy found out and divorced him. Now after the divorce, Sidney broke up with Diane Carroll and ended up dating and eventually marrying the actress who co-starred with him in the movie The Lost Man, and her name was Joanna Shimkus. Later on, when Eartha commented and told this story, she said, I really dodged one there. I can usually tell a good person from a bad person, but he had me fooled. I would have married him, and he wasn't going to be faithful. Now, just 1 year later, Eartha is asked to co-star with Sammy Davis Jr. in Anna Lucasta, and the same sort of scenario plays out, but this time, she's not attracted to Sammy at all, and his delivery, his come-ons to her, well, it was kind of like she said he was expecting her to say yes, or he was so cool that she should automatically fall in love with him, she said, which really turned her off. So as filming went on, he kept putting the moves on her and she kept refusing them. And this was getting frustrated for him, but to the point where he wasn't mad and offended, he was actually getting sad. She said he really was falling in love with me. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to break his heart here. But sometimes hearts are meant to be broken, so she keeps refusing. She said eventually he did something that she wasn't expecting. He knocks on her dressing room door, and when she opens it, he drops down on his knees and he proposes to her, and he grabs her hand and slides this diamond ring on her finger. She said this ring was so big that it kind of shocked her, but having him down on his knees in front of her proposing was also shocking to her. So under this pressure, what did she do? Well, again, she told him no. Now, Sammy didn't get mad. Instead, he got very sad. She handed him the ring back. He stood up and he walked out of there very hurt. Eartha said this hurt her too. She felt really bad for him. And over the next few days, you could tell he was still sad. And everything was kind of weird, but no one was mean. Then, one day, he knocks on her dressing room door again. He asks her if she will be his girlfriend. And again, she says, "No, I don't want to be your girlfriend." And he says, "Please, can we just maybe fake it? It'd be good for publicity. Here, you can even have this ring. Here, keep it. It's yours." And she's like, "I don't really want the ring either, and I'm not going to fake that we're boyfriend, girlfriend." He says, "It'd be good for the movie and both of us, and please just, act like you're my girlfriend while we're making this movie." And she said, "I wasn't thinking clearly, and I was kind of having pity on him, and I felt so bad. I said, okay, well, we can take some pictures together and act like we're boyfriend, girlfriend." She said this quickly turned into a disaster, because the first thing he did was want to take photos, and they ran them in the press. Sammy Davis Jr. and Eartha Kitt are dating. She's thinking, oh my gosh. And then he's like, okay, well, we have to go Friday night out to this place together and be seen for it to look good. And so she's like, oh boy. So they go out to a couple clubs. They go here and they go there. He's got his arm around her. He's acting all lovey-dovey with her. And he goes and kisses her while she's out in public, and she can't not kiss him back. And she's like, oh my God, this is turning into way more than I thought. But then here comes the big twist. One evening when they're out taking these fake pictures of them on a date, the press is there talking to her, and they say something, and then he goes, "We're getting married. I proposed to her, and she said yes." And she's like, oh my God. And click, 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 pictures. Oh my gosh, Sammy and Eartha are getting married. Did he give you a ring? He's like, yes, I gave her a ring. Show him the ring. She's like, I don't have the ring here. And they're like, we want to see it. And oh my gosh, everybody, Sammy and Eartha, they're getting married. Well, Sammy sure had his fun that evening, but once they got in private, she tore into him and said, "I only said this because I had pity on you. You tricked me. This was in your plans the whole time. I am not going to marry you. This has went way too far." And she said, "I'm going to tell everybody it's over." Well, he then showed his mean side. He was not happy. He told her she better not say anything to the press about them not getting married till after all the movie is finished and the publicity has been done. She said, "Fine, but don't expect me to go out in public with you anymore. I'm not talking about it at all." And so for the rest of the filming, things were a little awkward. He wasn't really friendly with her, and she wasn't that friendly with him either. Now, about 3 weeks before the filming was to be completed, she got contacted by this jeweler, and they told her that Sammy had purchased the ring that he gave her through them on a payment plan, and a few weeks before this, he had stopped making payments, so she can either continue to make the payments on the ring and keep it, or she needs to return it. She thought about it for a little while and said, "You know what? I'm not going to give it back because he tricked me and put me in this whole scenario. At least I should get the ring out of it." And what a ridiculous thing for him to do. Stop payment on the ring and make me have to give it back. Boy, that's just one more slap in the face from him. And so out of his spiteness, she decided to say no. Well, the jeweler said, "Then you are in possession of stolen property, and we are going to contact the authorities and have you return the ring." Well, Eartha's manager hears about this, and he starts to freak out. He says, "I can see it already. They're going to paint the picture of you being the bad person. The headline is going to read, 'Eartha Kitt breaks Sammy Davis Jr.'s heart and refuses to give the ring back. Now she's in possession of stolen property." Eartha smiled and said, "That's not how it's going to go. I'm going to have my own press conference tonight and tell them all the truth. Sammy asked me to marry him, and I said no. He begged me to be his girlfriend, and I said no. Then he gave me a ring and said, 'Please, can we just fake like we're boyfriend-girlfriend? It's great for publicity.' And then he acted like we were getting married, and I broke it off with him. So he quit paying on the ring, and that's the true story, and we're going public tonight." Well, her manager wanted to avoid all of this, so he went ahead and reached out to Sammy's people and told them the deal. They're going to tell the story tonight. But Sammy said, please don't do that. And he contacted the jeweler and paid off the rest of the bill right then. So she called and double checked, and the bill was paid off. Everything's good. She kept the secret. Well, sort of, because later on, she went ahead and told the whole story. After all, one of Eartha's mottos has always been, just tell the truth. Well, she got involved in a freaky scene there with Sammy. I'm glad it all worked out for her. Now, I always knew that people in Hollywood would get together just for publicity, but this shows it was happening way back then. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you think, and check out my complete biography on Eartha Kitt. It can be shocking, and it definitely can be triggering.